Well, good evening, and welcome to those who are joining me tonight on today's the 4th of the 8th, 2025. Thank you so much for those joining me on Instagram. Thank you so much for joining. For those joining me on YouTube, the primary channel, those joining me on Instagram. So I said Instagram already, Facebook, and TikTok. TikTok is on the sidelines there. I've gone to TikTok more specific at 10 p.m. tonight. But I want to thank you those for joining me on In Review, which is where we look at some of the top news in the world and the top news in the UK as well, emanating from the UK. I should be joined tonight by Mr. Gary Graham. All well. Let me just turn down the music here in the meantime, just to start that. And it's been a very interesting roller coaster time. I think last week I suspended the show because it was conflicting with my rest time, because I had to rest for the period of these debates, which was in Jamaica. As you know, the election concluded in Jamaica yesterday. And as a result of the elections, we have Mr. Andrew Holness, Dr. Michael Andrew Holness, who won the election and serving the third term, as they would say, reload. It has been reloaded. It was reloading. It has reloaded. And that is it, with 29 for the People's National Party and 34 for the Jamaica Labour Party. That is it. And I can see that the different news players have been talking about it. The Guardian, the BBC, and in Al Jazeera is talking about that as well. But there's been some there's been some developments here in the UK in the meantime, and what we are seeing is that but a few things. I just picked up something a while ago that Nadine Dorries, those who are familiar with Nadine Dorries from the Conservative Party, she has now jumped ship as well. She has jumped ship over to Reform. Which is very interesting that she has jumped ship over to Reform. A lot of people have jumped ship to Reform these last days. And even yesterday at Prime Minister's Question Time, the Prime Minister had a go in an indirect way at Nigel Farage to say that here you're not dealing with Clacton on the Sea, which is your constituents, but you're going all the way to the Champland as well. And that was very interesting as well. And I'm going to see if I can pick up something from Prime Minister's Question Time in the UK to see when he picked that up there. Prime Minister's Question Time in the UK. There's Prime Minister's Question Time in India as well. I just saw something. Prime Minister's Question Time. Sorry, jump me. Prime Minister's Question Time. Kemi Badenoch and Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer faces Badenoch after Rayner admits tax error. And that is something which is really breaking about these tax errors, which is happening there, which is one of the center contention of what I want to speak about tonight. Starmer refuses to say if he will sack Rayner if she's found to have broken the ministerial code. Right? And that is something which is very interesting. Just to give you a background, Angela Rayner is the Deputy Prime Minister in the UK. And what has happened, she bought a property, I think over 800,000, and apparently she had reduction in tax in stamp duties. And why they say it's a bit hypocritical is because the Labour Party has been very dominant in the way they speak about persons with these non-dumb tax and everything. Kemi Badenoch has now offered a response to Keir Starmer earlier interview with the BBC when he refused to say if he will sack Angela Rayner if she's found to have broken the ministerial code. And if I just play just a small bit of the Prime Minister's interview with let me see, the Prime Minister's interview with Prime Minister's questions. Keir Starmer refuses. And
if Angela Rayner has broken the ministerial code, will you sack her?
Well, Angela Rayner has referred herself, the independent advisor, My experience is he will be comprehensive in the report that he gives me.
And
He'll be
direct
quick.
often,
He will
yeah.
be quick, and that's what I'm expecting. And so I want to let that process take its course. I did strengthen that process, so she's
Sure, but there's
done
a
the right thing,
principle though here,
referred
though,
to
isn't
the
there?
independent advisor, and now he will do his work and report back to me.
Sure, but there's a principle here, whether or not in that instance you would have a minister in your government who had broken the ministerial code. Were that to be the conclusion?
Well, as I say, the right thing is to refer herself to the independent advisor. He has a reputation for being comprehensive and being quick, and that's what I'm expecting in this
Next day
case.
or so?
Well, I can't say, but I think he will be quick. I mean, that's usually how he operates, and I think that would be a good thing in this particular case. Obviously, I will look very carefully, as you'd expect, to whatever report he puts in front of me.
Would you not just explicitly say if a minister has broken the ministerial code, they'll be sacked?
Well,
and you're not saying that.
What I'm saying is there's a clear procedure. I strengthened that procedure. It is now taking place. I am expecting a result pretty quickly. I do want it to be comprehensive, as you'd expect.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I will act on whatever the report is that's put in front of me.
If Angela Rayner has broken the
there we are with the Prime Minister Keir Starmer, which is saying that Chris Mason is trying to get him to actually say that he will sack the Deputy Prime Minister if she has broken the code, but he says she has been referred to the Prime Minister's independent sort of, what should I say, watchdog or so, which is very interesting. Yeah. So I think the whole thing this deals with is, as I said, it is not about corruption, but it's about indiscretion. And it's about rules which are very important as well, rules which govern a parliamentary lifestyle, you know. And if I'm to break down what they said, Kemi Badenoch, what she said is that the leader of the opposition starts by saying that Starmer's refusal to commit to sacking Rayner should the ethics advisor find she has broken the ministerial code demonstrate that he does not have a backbone. And time again, he has said that if this sort of situation appears, he would instantly sack people. He has talked about tax fraud being made a criminal rather than a civil offense. When the shoe was on the other foot, when he was leader of the opposition, he went after people. Now, we all remember this. He went after people for the same scenario as did Angela Rayner. And what we're seeing, what she said, is sheer hypocrisy. Hypocrisy to the highest level. And as for it, whether it's fair for the Prime Minister to wait for the findings of the ethics advisor, Badenoch says we know Rayner's already confessed to underpaying tax. This is not a parliamentary rule. This is the law. She says, as she suggests, that merits either instant resignation or instant sacking. You know, and this is what we say is this is when we talk about ethics as much as possible in the Westminster system. We talk about ethics. We talk about due diligence. We talk about appropriate behavior by those in office. And I know when I saw an interview with Angela Rayner earlier, she was very teary, talking about her child, talking about her family, and everything like that. But I think it's a hypocrisy of the whole bit, the way when they go after persons who are in that similar situation. And what the Deputy Prime Minister is saying is that she used a small family conveyancing firm in Kent to handle the purchases of a whole property at the center of a tax dispute. Miss Rayner was admitted she underpaid. So that's the thing about it. She has already admitted it. So therefore, there's nothing really to investigate. She has admitted it. She underpaid stamp duty on the property. I guess the question is, ignorance of the law, is that any excuse or so? Is it advice of the lawyers, advice of the accountants that she's going to be using or hiding behind that? But if that's the case, then maybe those lawyers need to be referred to the SRA, to the council, the Solicitors Council, if anything. Angela Rayner was admitted she underpaid stamp duty on the property, but said she received inaccurate legal advice, using conveyances, Verica and Associates. That's what she is. And Herne Bay, which is fortunately where I was just last week, some time ago. Herne Bay High Street firm. I wonder if I drove past them or I tried to park nearby. Herne Bay's High Street firm employs 6 people, including 2 licensed conveyancers. It doesn't list tax advice amongst its services. Although on LinkedIn, the managing director states that through our connections, we can also offer advice on wills, probate, and tax planning. Experts have previously said that the conveyancers would be unlikely to be able to give specialist tax advice of the kind Rayner required. Friends of Rayner have said that she received advice from a conveyancer and from 2 other trust experts. It remains unclear who the 2 trust experts were and whether they have specialized knowledge on stamp duty tax. Some answering the phone at the conveyance firm would not give their name but said, "We are not talking to journalists." The name of the company, which appears on a land registry document, the firm was reported by The Guardian. And that is very, very, very interesting, I must say, with the developments which is happening there as well in the UK. And this is about due diligence. This is about alleged corruption to a certain extent. You can maybe say it's alleged corruption to a certain extent. Maybe not as well. But I'm gonna go to Prime Minister's question time and to see some of the wranglings there. And this is in the UK. I must emphasize, I must share with different persons that this is in the UK. Prime Minister's question time as well.
Securing 15 years of shipbuilding in Scotland and across
and help me
high streets.
Leader of the opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know the whole House will want to send our condolences to the family of our former colleague, David Warburton. I also welcome the fact that the Deputy Prime Minister has referred herself to the ethics advisor. She has admitted she underpaid tax. So why is she still in office? But there is not just a crisis at the very top of his cabinet, Mr. Speaker. There is a crisis brewing for the whole country. When was the last time the cost of government borrowing was so high?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, can I join her in her comments about Mr. Warburton? I think the whole House would unite on an issue such as that. In relation to the Deputy Prime Minister, she has explained her personal circumstances in detail. She's gone over and above in setting out the details, including Mr. Speaker, yesterday afternoon, asking a court to lift a confidentiality order in relation to her own son. I know from speaking at length with the Deputy Prime Minister just how difficult that decision was for her and her family. But she did it to ensure that all information is in the public domain. She has now referred herself to the independent advisor. That is the right thing to do. But I can be clear, I am very proud to sit alongside a Deputy Prime Minister who is building 1.5 million homes, who is bringing the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation, and who's come from a working class background to be Deputy Prime Minister of this country. Mr. Speaker, on the question of borrowing costs, they have risen across the world, as the Leader of the Opposition well knows. We are driving them down by getting debt down. That is hardwired into our fiscal rules. Those fiscal rules are non-negotiable. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to take lectures on the economy from the party opposite, who crashed the economy, mortgages went through the roof, and a record fall in living standards.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure we would have heard all that sympathy if it was the Conservative Deputy Prime Minister who was being attacked. I remember when the Prime Minister said that tax evasion is a criminal offence and should be treated as all other fraud. If he had a backbone, he would sack her. But let's get back to the issue of borrowing. He did not answer why it is so high. Conservatives left him the fastest growing economy in the G7. Under him, the cost of our borrowing is now higher than in Greece. Why does the Prime Minister think this is?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, if it had been the party opposite, there wouldn't have been the accountability that there now is in place, because there's been years and years avoiding it. And she makes Her claims about the economy under their watch are about as credible as her place at Stanford University, frankly. But Mr. Speaker, she leaves out of account because she wants to talk down the country. We've got the highest growth in the G7. Those figures, I look forward to her getting up and welcoming that. 5 interest rate cuts in a row. And of course, Mr. Speaker, £120 billion of investment in the first year of a Labour government. That is a record.
It's a terrible record, Mr. Speaker. I stand by every single thing that I have said. He cannot say why borrowing is higher under him. I will tell him why it is higher. It is because the Chancellor changed the fiscal rules so she could borrow record amounts. She maxed out the country's credit card, and that has pushed up borrowing costs. These are their bad choices, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, former members of the Monetary Policy Committee are warning, and I quote, that we are heading for an economic crash. Why does he think that he is right and they are wrong?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she can't resist. She comes straight back to talk the country down at every opportunity. She doesn't welcome the highest growth in the G7. She could have got up and welcomed that, Mr. Speaker, but no.
It is very interesting for persons who are watching from the UK, especially, and for all over, is the way how the Prime Minister tend to deflect from the issues and use some very key talking points. And the talking point is like she talks down the country and the years of mismanagement or disappointment by the Conservative Party, the 14 years, which is something which is said all the while, and they use that and hit the Conservative with Kemi Badenoch. Of course, you know, Kemi Badenoch is on the fire, of course, because of her position in regards to Nigeria as well. But, you know, she's there for a while and she's been, you know, taking it, and she's becoming a bit more seasoned. I say after 21 days of doing something, after 21 times of doing something, you somewhat become a master, and somewhat she's been a master at what she's doing. So let's carry on and hear what she says as to dealing with the opposition, dealing with the Prime Minister. Yeah.
What about the 380,000 jobs we've created? She can welcome that, but no. What about the 3 trade deals we've got? Not only does she not welcome them, she opposes them. And of course, she hasn't welcomed the Norway deal, the biggest deal for shipbuilding in a very, very long time. She should stop talking down the country and get behind the renewal this government is delivering.
Mr. Speaker, he is dragging down the country. He is dragging it down. How can he stand there and say that he is creating jobs? Unemployment has gone up every single month under this Labour government. And if he doesn't know why borrowing costs are going up, another reason is that the markets can see that he is too weak to control spending. Now, we are reading that he wants to have another go at welfare costing. What makes him think that they will vote for it this time?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we picked. I think I saw that the leader of the opposition said, I think at the weekend to the Sunday Times, that I think she said this: "I've inherited a gigantic mess and I'm cleaning it up." She said it's very difficult. It's going to take a while. I know exactly how she feels.
Mr. Speaker, we're not the ones referring ourselves to ethics advisors. The fact is, he is floundering. Mr. Speaker, he is floundering. Perhaps he should have a read of the covers of the...
Order. No.
Mr. Speaker, perhaps he should have a read of the covers...
Order. We don't want to start the session with somebody leaving, do we? If somebody wants to volunteer, please do so. If not, I will choose one.
They can do the fake chairs as much as they like. The whole country knows what a mess of the economy they are making. Mr. Speaker, it is clear that taxes are going up for everyone, except perhaps the Deputy Prime Minister. I warned before the summer that we would face weeks of speculation about which taxes would be going up. The former head of the IFS says this sort of uncertainty is actively damaging to the economy. And now we find that we have to wait until the 26th of November for a budget. Does he really think the country or the markets can wait that long?
Prime Minister.
I think at the same time that the opposition leader Kemi Badenoch is somewhat a bit very cautious as to how she rips into Angela Rayner, Deputy Prime Minister, because the opposition leader ripped into Rachel Reeves some time ago, that is the Chancellor, and apparently the Chancellor was sitting behind the Prime Minister, and she was actually crying. I don't know. We still don't know what it was. Apparently, it was something maybe personal or something like that. It was maybe trying to get some assurance from the Prime Minister if her job is safe or so. And so I think Kemi is somewhat very cautious in not rubbing it in that much. I don't know what persons think about that. What your views in regard to that? But I must say though that that at this time and at this junction, it is very important that she do not slack back in actually going for the principles, let's say the principles, and not thinking about the person, because the person is a public body. The person is the Deputy Prime Minister, the person is a member of Parliament, the person is an elected official. So therefore, one has to be very careful not to have any level of sympathy at the same time, because when they are wielding their wand, when they are striking and writing orders and laws and so like that, that affect many persons in the UK. And we can talk about, there's so many things which are happening now which many people are unhappy about. The migrant cases where lots of people are unhappy about. The issues in regards to flags, the Union Jack and the St. George's flag, which has been flown and being asked to be taken down. So a lot of British people, English people are a bit upset by that. They said that there's a racial undertone in regards to that as well. But as I said, in my front room, in my porch at my front, I got a big Jamaican flag there, which is very interesting. And the other day when in Tower Hamlet, when there were some Union Jacks or some St. George's flag, which was on a post or so, persons were taking them down. And apparently they were asking, who are you that is taking them down? I said, they got orders from the mayor. They said, which mayor was it? The mayor of Tower Hamlet is an Asian guy. The mayor of London is an Asian guy. But the interesting thing about it, what I saw was, who was taking it down? Who did they order to take it down? They had two Jamaican guys taking it down. And guess what was wrapped around one of the Jamaican guys' head? A Jamaican flag. Can't make that up, ladies and gentlemen. Can't make that up. So it's very interesting as to it. So the people of the UK will not be very happy and will not be very sympathetic to it when they are feeling it. Let's listen more to the Prime Minister's question time.
Mr. Speaker said they're not referring themselves to the ethics advisor. That's amongst the reasons they got booted out of office last year. And she complains that we're going through the due process for a budget and going through the necessary steps. We tried a budget under their watch without going through those steps. What happened? They blew up the economy. We'll take no lessons from them.
This is desperate stuff from the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker. This week, he had another reset. This morning, the Prime Minister scrapped his 5 missions, and after scrapping his 3 foundations, scrapping his 6 first steps for change, and his 7 pillars for growth, the truth is this man has got no clue, 0 clue. But this is serious, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister's incompetence is hurting real people. They're losing their jobs. The cost of everything is going up, from energy bills to the weekly shop. This is a crisis made in Downing Street. Isn't the truth that he is too weak to change course and too arrogant to admit he got things wrong?
Prime Minister! I don't know what social media sites she's been on this morning, Mr. Speaker, but I think the chair of the Tory party said that we were the firefighters, this government. Well, in a sense we are, because we're putting out the fires that they created. They were the arsonists, the biggest fall in living standards on record and blowing up the finances. We spent the first year putting out their fires, quite right too. But now, Mr. Speaker, we're delivering on the cost of living. Funded childcare, £7,500 for working families. Free breakfast clubs, opening new schools-based nurseries. That's what we're fighting for, the best start for every child in this country.
Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Mayor of the West Midlands, Richard Parker, is delivering growth and jobs by backing SMEs like Bow Toy.
That's for Prime Minister's question time, ladies and gentlemen, and I just was using that as a sort of what should I say, a springboard to look at the whole issue in regards to the issue regarding the Deputy Prime Minister. Normally, we always say, this is what they always say in the UK. They normally say in the UK, when will she go? Is it by Friday, by Saturday, or by Sunday? And normally that is what happens normally in the case in the UK. And what I sense is going to happen is that she's going to say that the Prime Minister is going to keep saying, I have full confidence in my minister. I have full confidence in my Deputy Prime Minister. I've got full confidence in Angela Rayner. Then after a while, you're going to hear something coming through from Angela Rayner whereby she wants to spend time with her family. And once it detracts from the government, once someone is caught into disrepute, and whereby focus is upon someone and away from government, because the press in the UK is like a Rottweiler. The press in the UK will not back off. They will go for it to the wire. And as far as I'm concerned, it's endgame for her. That's my predictions. It's endgame for her. For her to stay, it's going to keep, she may pass through it, but the press is going to keep going at it, and it's going to be somewhat detracting from the business of government. And eventually, she will have to go. Definitely. Maybe not losing the seat as a member of parliament, but being the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Housing. But there's another thing regarding Labour. The way how they went about electing their Deputy Prime Minister and Deputy Leader is another way how they do it. And I forget how they do their system. There's a system how they do that. So in the UK, in comparison with other countries and those who follow the Westminster system, you can see very clearly that when it comes on to integrity, when it comes on to transparency, when it comes on to openness, when it comes on to leadership, when it comes on to selflessness, the press is going to go for it. Of course, there are going to be many different double standards at the same time. There are going to be many different double standards, but that's the case as how it goes. So I think for the UK time, I just want to touch on the Angela Rayner bit, and my prediction, she's going to go by Sunday. Mark my word. I made my predictions in the Jamaica one, and in the Jamaica election, that didn't work. So, we can all make it. We can all be wrong, But the latest development, though, I must say, and I wanted to come on to this now because I did some sort of research on a couple of things which I believe is very important in regards to the election in Jamaica. Unfortunately, I'm not actually taking any guests at this time because I'm on the YouTube channel as well, and that's where the focus is on. But of course, with the TikTok, I want to thank those on TikTok for coming on, and much appreciated. Like and share and share the video. Garfman, I'll be opening on to TikTok shortly. For those on Instagram, I want to thank you for coming on Instagram as well. And yeah, well, last night there was the outcome of the general election in Jamaica, and without further ado, I think I have something here which I want to share if I have it. If I have it, I don't know if I have it. I'm gonna see. Yes, I have it here. And I think this is a good one. Yep, it's a good one.
This bell is not an easy bell to ring. I wouldn't be surprised if Bustamante rang this bell. But I carried the symbol of the party today because it is such a historic moment that this is a victory for our founder, Bustamante, for Sir Donald Stanster, for Hugh Shearer, for Edward Philip George Tiago, for Bruce Bowling. And I want to invite Mrs. Carla Siaga to just come and acknowledge the moment and take a bow to the crowd. Because all of this Mr. Siaga still, well, he must be happy. So, Desmond, just you are only allowed to hold the bell temporarily. Do not ring it. I have a few things to say early on. Firstly, let me thank the thousands of Jamaicans who prayed for me personally.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Prime Minister of Jamaica, and what he's doing is acknowledging that he has won. But so I'm not going to play all of that because of copyright issue or anything like that. It's been played a lot last night, but this is just acknowledging that the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, has gone third term loading, and it is now loaded. As they said, loading, it is now loaded. And they say shower, but there was a picture which was going around which somebody sent me, and it was like a shower. And I said, is it a shower or it's a drizzle? You know, I'm gonna take this time and also to play a bit of the concession speech by the leader of the opposition, which is Mark Golding, which was last night as well, and it was graceful, and it shows that Jamaica is really mature in a sense when it comes on to transference. Well, you know, acknowledging election. I think the last time something like that happened was with Portia, actually, I believe, in a sense where she didn't acknowledge, or it took a while. But here we go.
And thank you.
Comrade Chairman, Comrade General Secretary, Comrade Officers, all of the comrades on the platform, all the comrades in the audience, all the people of Jamaica who are listening, watching. First of all, I think it's my duty as a believer in democracy to acknowledge and concede the result and to congratulate our opponents, the Jamaica Labour Party, for their victory tonight. Jamaica's democracy is important and we must cherish it. Sometimes it brings bitter disappointments. Sometimes those disappointments are laced with a tinge of a sense that not all is fair and just, but it is very, very important that we put democracy ahead of all of those feelings. And I accept the result of these elections. And although obviously I'm very disappointed in the outcome, I think it is only correct to expressly acknowledge the success that our opponents have managed to gain today. I want to thank a lot of people. And first of all, I have to thank the comrades and supporters of South St. Andrew for standing with me.
That's a speech from the deputy, the opposition leader, Mr. Mark Golding. And there's just a couple of points that I wanted to flag up. Oh, there's Gary. Hey, Gary, how are you, man? You good?
Yeah, I was on a long distance call, so I couldn't really break it off.
I know when you're talking to Trump, so you don't have to explain. If you're talking to
it was somebody far more important than Trump. Far more important than Trump.
if you're talking to Trump, that's understandably, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, you know. I was just now talking about the Jamaica elections, and I just played a bit of the concession speech by the opposition leader Mark Golding, and I played a bit of the Prime Minister's speech of victory, but I didn't want to play them too long because by this time now they might be copyrighted issue in them. When I did it last night, it was live, you know, so therefore it was all right, you know. Michelle said good afternoon. Yeah, go on, Gary. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to me, I think that if you, this will make a copyright issue if you allow it to go like a few seconds or whatever. I don't know what the time limit is.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I was chopping it up. I was chopping it up. Yeah.
But this shouldn't be any copyright issue.
Yeah, yeah. I sometimes we get these things flagged up, and then with YouTube, they say you'll have to either seek for permission, and that's going to take a long time, or just ask them to remove it. So sometimes I just can't bother with the hassle, really, But what was very interesting last night, though, Gary, what was very interesting, and I got the figures to really look at it. Do you know that on the Jamaica Electoral Commission website, do you know how many Jamaicans are registered to vote? I'm just going to do something here. How much? Guess how many Jamaicans are registered to vote?
Well, I don't know. Is it any less than what you found out the last time? Or is it just the same or just a little bit more?
No, the last time it was 1.92 million people on the voters list that went into the election. 1.92 million that went into the last election in 2020. 1.92 million. Okay. And in this election, it was 2.077, right? 2.077. And let me put up something here, because I got the figures here. If actually that's not what I'm going to put up. I'm going to put up something here that shows. There it is. This is a bit which is very interesting. Okay, look at this figure here. Let's look at this. 34 seats went to the JLP. 29 seats went to the PNP. The PNP got 402,321, Gary. Guess how much the JLP got? 411,189. A difference of 8,000. A difference of 8,000. The last election, it was 408,405. That shows the difference. So it was, actually, it was 700 and so thousand at the last election. This went up to maybe just under 100,000. But guess what? The people that turnout was 39%, according to the preliminary report from the Electoral Commission. 39% turnout. Guess how much that is? I worked it out. 800 and something thousand. 800 and something thousand people voted in the election yesterday, Gary. So guess how many people did not turn out to vote? Simple maths.
I mean,
you must can do the maths.
Humor me.
1.2 million Jamaicans did not come out to vote yesterday. 1.2 million, ladies and gentlemen. 1.2 million Jamaicans did not turn up to vote. Did not bother to vote.
No, but Silver, there is a big problem there. Now the problem with all of this, is that they're not informing the people. It's just, I mean, this thing is going right back to when you did whatever. I don't know.
Oh, you mean the constitutional reform when we go all over the UK?
Yes. And even in Jamaica, they didn't know nothing about it. They're not informing the people. And the people, I mean, there are people in the rural areas that I'm quite certain were not involved in that process. There's much more people in the rural areas than in the city of Kingston, the city of Montego Bay, and other, and I think there may be one or two other main cities that we can probably call cities. Much more people. So there is something wrong with that, with the whole process of Jamaica. Something is wrong.
It is. And let me just ask persons on TikTok. Prime Global, how are you? Marsh, how are you guys? Can you hear me clearly? Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I would say I can. Just let me know if you can hear me clearly, because I'm using a mic here as well. Sometimes it goes with a little echo. Let me know if you can hear me clearly on TikTok as well. Yes, I can hear you. Fantastic. Awesome. Awesome. So my thing now is this. I'm glad of the results. And I tell you why I'm glad of the results. I had said before it was going to be a landslide. This is what I said, it was going to be a landslide. Because I said it's got to be a decisive victory. I was wrong. And I'm happy to admit that I'm wrong. Because sometimes God has to make you humble, you know. Sometimes you're always right. Sometimes God has to just humble yourself and say, Virgin, you can't write all the while. But the good thing about it is the good thing about it is this. This is what the good thing about it is this. They have to work together closely. Somebody say, I don't believe the results. Somebody said they don't believe the results. You know? They have to work together very closely. You remember when you had Nick Clegg came in that election in the UK. Nick Clegg and David Cameron formed the coalition between the Lib Dem and the Conservative Party. And they were going back and forth with Labour trying to form a deal. And guess what it was? They asked Professor Whitty, I forget that professor name, his name always slipped me all the while. What is it that the people are actually saying? What is the government, what is the nation saying based on the polls? What is the nation saying? Someone is saying they stole the elections. Mark Gordon is the Prime Minister of Jamaica. You know, what is it that they are saying? And if I'm to make my analysis of what is being said, what is being said is that the people of Jamaica is saying they do not trust the Andrew Holness government alone to run the country with such a majority. There's got to be great discussion, consultation together. Hence the 34-29. Yep. Hence the 34-29. Secondly, another thing which I picked up was this. There's a brother and sister which was in the house, Pernell Charles Jr. and his sister Michelle Charles. Michelle Charles was removed. Well, she lost her seat. So therefore, that is one. And then Darrell Vaz and his wife, Anne-Marie Vaz, she lost her seat. So therefore, it's like nation is saying, we don't want no family business. You know what I mean? Broke it up. So therefore, it was like Andrew Holness should have lost his seat, or or Juliet Holness should have lost to sort of mash up that sort of dolly. So it is like the people are saying something collectively through the polls. That's my sort of preliminary analysis, if anything. They had ample time to do so, and they didn't do it. And Andrew lost his seat. Oh, somebody said Andrew lost his seat. Well, Gary, it is very interesting. You know, last night while I was watching this thing, or this morning, we noticed that a guy named Buchanan, not Isaac Buchanan, was leading the prime minister's seat for a long time, and he kept there for a long time. And then all of a sudden, the prime minister, he showed with a figure, and he had more, you know. But listen, many people will say what they want to say, but as far as I'm concerned, I believe that the Electoral Commission is I don't know, it should not be questioned, or is it questioned? But it looks a bit fishy. Some people are saying that because the boxes which are outstanding were the boxes from a certain base which was supposed to carry more. I don't know, but it looked a bit fishy last night, because we were all discussing this with my guys, and we're all saying, what if the Jamaica Labour Party win the election and the Prime Minister loses his seat? Do you know of any case of that happen in the UK? A Prime Minister loses his seat.
I don't know. As not in modern history.
Yeah.
I mean, not in our timeline, lifetime. I don't know if anything like that has happened in my time, in my lifetime. Probably, you know, before, but we've never heard of anything like that.
Yeah. No, they were talking about that. I mean, Dion Jackson Miller, they were talking about that for a while. You know, they were saying, wow, you know, what if that's happened or so, which was very interesting as much as possible. And there are some very key upsets, which I noticed. I noticed the upset whereby Isaac Buchanan, this was a guy who was deported, He was several time in prison, they said, and he's the one that went to the Privy Council and he represented Gaza, and he was released. He's got a good story, as far as I'm concerned. He's got a good story. I mean, he's got a book from where he's coming from to where he is now, as sitting as a legislator in Jamaica. And what this is saying as well is that nobody owns Jamaica. Why were some PNP being prevented from voting in some? People are saying PNP people were prevented from voting in some constituencies. But what do you think? What do you think about? Or what do people think about voting in Jamaica? What do you think can stimulate voting or more people vote? In the UK, we go for 10. We go up to 10 o'clock, and once 10 o'clock comes, we get an exit poll and we know who win or not. What do you think can be done in Jamaica, Gary? What do you think?
I don't know really. I mean, again, it all depends on where the votings are. I mean, they would have to have heavy security around the place, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, England is becoming rather lawless these days. It's just getting worse here anyway. So, you mean
with the flag issues and the migration issue in the UK here?
Well, that will raise the temperature of the place.
The temperature is being raised in the UK. But what I believe could stimulate more voting in Jamaica, which would benefit more people coming out to vote, would be putting the voting time up to 8 p.m. at least, up to 8 p.m. Because I knew of a couple of persons. Yeah, somebody said 5 p.m. is too early to stop the voting in Jamaica. Yeah. People voting at 6 or 7 p.m. Yeah, that's what I believe as well. It should go up to at least 8 p.m. People should be able to vote up to 8 p.m. I know persons who were who messaged me, who I know, that they couldn't get to vote because they had work to do and their vote was all the way across the nation, some part of Jamaica, I'm trying to say. So yeah, I think that is one way. And the second way is really get out early with these manifestos. I don't care which one come out first or which one really people gonna thief or whatever. Come out first with the manifestos and go in the highways and the byways and to educate the people. Yeah, educate the people on the policies. One thing I believe that Jamaica missed after these debates and during the time of these debates, what should be happening is what we do in the UK. We call them hustings. And the hustings should be taken in the consequences of all the different persons. And so the churches or civic society, Rotary Club, Kiwanis, Key Club, or whatever like that, host these hustings. And then you'll have the PNP, the JLP, the JPP, or the UIC, and they all set out what their agenda is with their manifesto. I think that is a way forward. In that way, it's like these town hall meetings, and you go into the highways and the crook by highways of different Jamaica, because the 90-minute debates is more like somebody doing a crash program just to win over a debate at the same time. And I don't believe it does much, and I don't believe everybody watches it. These debates that comes on. There's 3 debates that took place. And plus again, there were no platform for the independent parties, right? There were no platform for the independent. So if I was to set out a policy or a way forward, the independent parties, the UIC, the JPP, they should have a voice. Because I tell you what, one person I believe lost last night, and the difference of 26 was what went to one of the independent parties. So that 26 could have gone either way and could have made a difference. You see what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So therefore there need to be a level of what should I say, more engagement with the people as much as possible. And that, I believe, will stimulate, more inspire. Because people have got to be inspired. The young people have got to be inspired as well as to go and to turn out to vote. And that was one of my reflection when I was looking at some of the figures today. But up to now, I still find it, and it beggars belief, to know that 1.2 million people in Jamaica did not turn up to vote. You know, the lies and false narrative is not good for democracy, and that is true at Silent River. Lies and and that's the thing about in elections. I mean, everywhere in the world you go, you'll have different narratives that come out, but this is where you have the authenticity of the main news media outlets vis-a-vis social media, right? Social media, anyone can take up a phone and then they become a reporter and they have a bias or whatever like that, and they start to spew out anything like that, and they got a big following, and they say, oh, Jacko said that, Michael said that, Silburn said that, and blah, 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 just because you got a voice and you got a massive following. But there's no check and balances as to whether you're right or wrong. There's no fact checking. Because even sometimes I'm on social media here, and person will come out and say a couple things, and then I will start to do a little research on my laptop here. I go to the Gleaner, I go to Fact Check, I go to AI, I go to Perplexity, I go to Gemini, and I go to ChatGPT just to see if there's anything. And I realize some of them are not true. And I say, hang on a second, guys. This is what it said based on my research. This is what it said based on my research. So therefore, there's got to be a way of fact checking, just like when you have the debates. When the debates were done, you should have had some sort of fact checking at the same time, you know. And Silent River, that is what is turning. Oh, so what someone is saying here, that is what is turning off the undecided, you know. But what do you? What do you think? What in a way, thinking about it, what do you think? What do you guys think about the undecided? If you now have 40%, 39 to 40% of the nation who went to vote, which was 800,000. Let me make that record. Let me say that for people. 411,189 and 402,000. So we are talking about 800 and so thousand. Yep, 800 and so thousand who voted. So that 800,000 who voted, they are the ones that actually set in place members of parliament to run the country. But is that but does it mean that they are disenfranchised? Does it mean that those persons are disenfranchised?
Who's that? The 1.2 million?
1.2 million.
Well, obviously, I mean, they haven't had the, well, it's not that, did they have the opportunity to vote? What would they must have heard about the general election, but did they have the opportunity? Was it there for them? Because obviously, if it was here, we would, I mean, the British public would be up in arms saying that they were disenfranchised because they didn't have the opportunity to express themselves in whoever they wanted to vote for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say so.
Let's work out the term disenfranchised now, because I did a video earlier about disenfranchised. A person who chooses not to vote, but knowing that they can vote, they have actually exercised their franchise, Gary, isn't it?
Okay, like for instance, we get our polling cards, yes?
Yes.
Now, if we make the choice not to go down to vote, then we are not disenfranchised because we have made a decision. We have made that decision not to vote.
Not to vote.
Not to vote.
Yes.
But places like Jamaica now, let me ask you this question. Do you know if every individual, or is there any data that you know of that can state that, let's say, the 1.2 million who did not vote received anything at all that they could have expressed themselves? Is there anything that you may know that could show that? Because if, and let us say it's a big if a quarter, or it could be half, I don't know the percentage, I'm not bringing up percentages here.
Yeah.
But if a quarter of 50% of the 1.2 did not receive anything, then there's a problem.
No, you got a point, and that's a question that I can't answer, and I must put this out there in cyberspace, and I put it out there on TikTok as well. For those who are in Jamaica, can I ask you this question? Did you get a letter, a leaflet, or something that told you that you are registered to vote or so? Or was an advisory that says you can go? Because I can go on the website and I can check if I'm registered to vote by putting in my name and my date of birth. And of course, I checked it myself to make sure nobody knew I do me. And I'm not there, But I'm sure if I check my mother and I check my sisters, I could find them because they all voted. They send pictures of them going to the polling station. So what I understand is that people are advised, and what the Electoral Commission was saying, that they got about 20,000 ID cards, which was there, that people needed to pick up. I need to ask the question again for those in Jamaica, and if you're in Jamaica, did you get? I'm sorry, I don't know if I picked up it. Somebody say yes. Are you saying that you got a letter, or you got something physical in your hand to say that you are registered on the electoral list, or was it an advisory or so for people to check? I don't know. Let me know. Okay, Silent River say yes. So what you're saying, Silent River, just say you did get a letter. So what he said, he got something. Oh, Silent River, I'm not sure if it's a male or female, but Silent River said they got something there. Yeah. So
okay, well, that's one person out of millions. But you see, you see, the point is that if they didn't get anything still, then they couldn't vote. They've been disenfranchised. Those are the individuals who are disenfranchised.
Yeah.
And how much of those individuals are in Jamaica? How much of those people are in Jamaica? We don't have those figures.
Well, it's a very interesting point that you raised there as how much people are in Jamaica, because they were showing videos of persons of PNP leaning and GLP leaning on planes, and they're having a good time, and they say they're coming down to vote. I know one sister mentioned to me that her dad went down to vote. And I think I was listening to one station, I was listening to Nationwide, and I think George Davis also said his cousin contacted him and say he's here from Canada and his name is not on the list. And what people are saying, if your name is not on the list, or you're not on that list there when you go to the polling station, you can check on the EOJ website and to see if you're registered to vote. But my thing is this: whether or not someone's name is on the electoral list, or whether or not they decided to vote or not, in a way, I would say that they're not disenfranchised, because the political process is not just when one go to the polls, as we know, Gary. One can still go to your surgeries. One can still go to your surgery as well. One can still have lobbying your MP as well. But as someone says in the chat here, they need some form of documentation to vote. And I need to ask this question again. for persons going to vote in Jamaica, do you just turn up there by yourself without an ID and just mention a name? Because once I mention the name in a guy and they vote, they put a purple ink on your hand. Someone say, "Hi, I'm in Jamaica. Don't know if I'm on the list. No one inform us." Okay, so Mary Bless. Well, Mary Bless, a way you can check it out is go on the EOJ website, the Electoral Commission website. It is up there now. You can go onto it, and it is ecj.com.jm, and there's a section about voters. You can go on it, and what it says, voters list count. Yeah, voters list. You can go and check to see if your name is on the list. You put your name in. You put vote. Yeah, you put your name in, and you put your your date of birth. That's what it is. You put your name in and you put your date of birth, and you can check to see if your name is on the voters list. But she made a brilliant point. Don't know if I'm on the list. No one inform us. But you and I know, Gary, in order to be informed, like in the UK, we normally get an update from the council at some point to say who is living in your house, isn't it, Gary? You get something like who is living in your house.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I think that is something that needs to be looked at very strategically in a way to sort of stimulate voting, because one would get the impression that it helps the political parties, Gary, in a way, to know that they have their base, and their base is what they're focusing on, and with their base they can get their runners and so like that to bring their base out, to bring the people out. So therefore one would sense that there's not an interest with the undecided and those who don't normally vote. Yeah, that's what I'm sensing, that there's not an interest there, because if you check it out, the last election, 408,000 or so voted for the JLP, 305,000 voted for the PNP. In this election, 411,000 voted for the JLP, and 402,000 voted for the PNP. 29 seats for the PNP, 34 seats. So when they say it's a shower, I say it wasn't a shower, it was a drizzle.
Let me see those figures again. So
okay, let me break the figures there. There's the figures there.
8,868 difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not much, you know.
That's not much, Gary. That's not much. That's why I say it's a drizzle. It's not a shower, it's a drizzle. But yet it has been loaded in a sense. I know some people are going to say I'm speaking like I'm a PNP, but I don't care. I'm speaking like a Jamaican. I'm just giving my analysis of the whole thing. You know, as a matter of fact, let me rub it into someone's face here. I rub it into a couple of people's face. I rub it into places. That's it. Somebody send me that and say it's a shower, and I responded and said no, it was a drizzle. It was a drizzle. It was a drizzle. It wasn't a shower. You know what I'm trying to say? The most important thing now is that they have to work together. Yeah. The process for voting starts with a registration and is done also with the taking of a census. Is that a census? Yes, I think that they should have a way to inform us so more people can participate. So what you're saying then, Marie, you're saying you would have wanted to vote, even though you fall within that 1.2 million, which I'm talking about, that did not vote. And sometimes I'm saying it a bit blasé by saying 1.2 million did not bother to vote. They never interested. I think that maybe not your case. That maybe your case is whereby you weren't informed. I know of persons who said, shucks, Silburn, I don't even know. Some people say, oh, shucks, I didn't even know. One person said, shucks, I didn't know that I I'm on the list or whether I'm on the list or not. So a lot of people did not know, a lot of people did not know, Gary. So that's a very interesting bit there, But the big thing is, what are Jamaicans going to be talking about now that the election is over? Because that has been the center point of all these discussions on TikTok. And I'm going to go over there in a second. So don't go, guys. Stay right there. Gary, are you going to come on TikTok? How many followers you got now? 5? We give you some more?
I haven't even checked, my brother. I haven't even checked. I don't even know. I'm not.
You haven't checked how many followers you got? I mean, we got lots of people here now. We can all, everybody can follow you. We can give you at least 19 votes. 19, if you come over and just there and just get somebody say even where to go to vote, we don't know. Yeah. I'll we get more people to follow you, Gary. Yeah, definitely. But by the way, before you came on, I was speaking about Angela Rayner. You know about that development whereby when you think she's gonna go, Sunday or Saturday?
I think she should go tonight.
You think she might go tonight? I was saying to people that that's what happened here in the UK. Once a person is caught in the dispute, whether prime minister, whether MP or whatever like that, and there's issues of corruption or indiscretion or whatever like that, the press hound them and put the pressure on the prime minister. The prime minister is going to keep saying, I have good confidence in my minister. I have good confidence in my minister. Then they get a letter saying, my minister has resigned because she wants to spend more time with her family. That's what always happens. And the pundits always sort of bet on that in a way to say that's what's going to happen. So I gave her until Sunday. And that's not to resign as an MP, but to step down as a deputy prime minister, because that position is a crucial. Huh?
Whenever a prime minister ever has to stand up and say, I've got confidence in my minister, you know that the definitely is winning. You know that.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen normally. Whatever they say. And he said, it's excited to work with Angela Rayner, to sit with her on the front bench and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
but Gary, listen.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But even then, not to prolong it, but even then, Starmer, he's fighting for his political career also.
Well, you know why Starmer is fighting now, and why he wants to keep Angela Rayner, and why he wants to keep Rachel Reeves. Somebody say Rachel Thieves. That's what they say, Rachel Thieves. I was saying to people all the while that what Andrew Holness is getting is minor to what some of these MPs get over here as well, But they don't go back trying to trace each other. The press will hound you. I think if Rachel Reeves go, it is tied so much with Keir Starmer that he will feel the brunt of it. And if the deputy prime minister goes as well, the buffer for the prime minister is going to go again. And he's going to be real. He's going to be hit left, right, and center. And as a result of that, there might seem to be a motion of no confidence that may come up for the prime minister at some point, because right now he's like, I wouldn't say he's a dead man walking or unalive man walking, but I'll say that he's on some shady ground, because with the rise of the should I say far right, or those persons who are so-called patriots, you're putting up your flags and they're taking down your flags. I was laughing the other day, Gary, because someone sent me a video, and the video was showing that 2 persons said that they were asked to remove the British flag and the Union Jack. And they said, who told you to do that? And the guy said, the mayor. They said, which mayor? Is it the mayor of Tower Hamlet, Ramon, or is it what's his name, Sadiq Khan? They just said mayor. But guess who were the 2 persons? Guess what nationality was the 2 persons, Gary? Jamaicans. And guess what was on one of the Jamaican head? A flag of Jamaica. I'm gonna look for the video and send it to you. That was so hilarious. People are saying you can't make this one up. So they're taking down the Englishman flag and yet them have the Jamaican flag up on the head. and every time I post something on it, I say I've got a big Jamaican flag. Anybody that come to my house, the first thing they're gonna see is a big flag of Jamaica in my house. And then if they come inside my local office here, you see like a small one here, which is Jamaican national one as well. But I got a big one. Actually, it's getting a bit. I'm going to change it. I might get another big one at the back of the house as well, outside, no? Left, right, and center. Yeah. But Gary, listen, all the best, man, and all right, we take care. We take care as well. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Thank you. But feel free to pop over TikTok and get 20 persons there and 11,000 likes. Maybe everyone will follow you, and then you find that you start to have lots of followers, Gary. Well, ladies and gentlemen, take care, Gary. Take care. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. Thank you for those who are joining on TikTok, Facebook. TikTok, I'm going to come over there. I'm going to come over there directly there in a few moments. For those who are in what should I say, Instagram, Natural Beauty area, Rita Styles, Dr. Renford Davis. Yeah, Woody Murray, Red Walker, Mommy Sandy, Sir Tony Kelly, how are you? My diabetes coach. Thank you, Bennett. Thank you so much for joining. And on Facebook as well. Thank you so much for joining and doing more of this as well. Good night to you and everyone. And of course, we will be going over onto TikTok for a moment or so. Peace out. And God bless you. And all the best. Remember to like and subscribe as you do. Thank you.